Hi, Greg Grubb, Electric Vehicle Conversions, Ohio. I missed last week. It's busy. It's hot. We were getting ready to move. So, anyway, I did have a few questions over the last 2 weeks, and just wanted to talk about them real quick. I wanted to make this a long video because I missed one last week, but I'm going to try to keep it just the information. You can always play it again. But Friday we're taking delivery of the 99 Ranger on Friday the 19th. And hopefully next week it'll be an overview of that vehicle and what we're planning on doing with it. The actual build won't start until August 12th. And hopefully that'll be a more in-depth video showing people the actual build, things like that. Now the owner is on a trip in that right now, and right before he left he upgraded to all-wheel disc. He got stiffer, basically heavier suspension. So he got the brakes and suspension and tires and went and put a manual steering rack in it. That was his choice. We could have done power steering with everything else we're doing to it, but he opted not to have it. So that should be here Friday, which should also be the day we start moving. So it'll be a busy week getting into the new place, making sure the garage is set up for the conversion. And that's about it for the Ranger. There will be a lot more next week on the Ranger because it will be here. And let's go into the questions. Okay, somebody said, can you build a drag car? Yeah. Drag cars are a completely different thing when you're talking electric, because normally you're trying to get range, not torque, not power. I brought up this sheet, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to show it, but I'm going to show it anyway. This is just a distributor showing the foot-pounds of torque and what the amps are going to cost with your RPMs. And if you'll see down there at the bottom, it says 500 amps. It's getting you 100 foot-pounds of torque. And that's why the guy asked if he can do a drag car. 500 amps isn't much for an electric car. The controllers I plan on using are at 1,000. The Soliton Junior is at 1,000. And I'm not sure about the other one, the Soliton 1. I believe it's the same. But, well, I didn't look this up before I started shooting. Anyway, there it is. Just want specs. Yeah, they're both 1,000 amps, but they have a bigger one. Somebody has a bigger one. That'll go up to 2,000 amps. But like I said, at 500 amps, you're getting 100 foot-pounds of torque. I have this down to explain the Warp 9. Because people say, well, aren't electric motors weak? The Warp 9 at a 72 volt, I think it's 3,000 RPM. It's only roughly 34 horsepower. But if you attach a 72 kilowatt pack to that, you can get 326 horsepower out of it in comparison, not electric horsepower, which is over 500 foot-pounds of torque. And for a light car, that's a lot. That's more than my truck has. And it's a V8. But 6,000 RPMs, the equivalent would be, horsepower would be outrageous. I mean, that would be like a 4,000 pound WRX. Just under that, 330 horsepower. But that really doesn't matter in an electric car. The torque matters. The motor's only rated to 82 horsepower electric. But you could still get 550 foot-pounds of torque out of that. And that's a small motor. That's the Warp 9. You do a Warp 11 that can get you almost 800 foot-pounds of torque. I guess really is, if you want me to build a race car, you gotta know building a gas-powered race car isn't cheap. You know, quite a few people that have a few. I know a couple people that have spent 100,000 or more on an 11-second car, trying to make a 10-second car, which is obviously the goal of a drag car. There are a few people with electric drag cars, and I can tell you right now, I personally met one last summer, and he's pulling 10.5 almost consistently. 10.5 second quarter miles. 8 mile, sorry. But he's got $30,000 just in batteries. Probably another 15 in his motors. He runs a dual 11 in a Beetle. And I'd say with everything, he spent probably 100 grand, easily. And it's no different than building a commuter. You're just using, I guess, better components. The bigger motor really isn't required if you're trying to go for distance. You really don't want that amp draw from the upsized motor if you want a commuter. But if maybe you just want it to be really sporty, but that would all be in the controller and how much kilowatts you have put in there. And still range, and of course cost. You have to consider cost every time. If you don't want to spend $100,000 on a car you're going to drive to work and back, just so you can act like a boss in traffic. That is amp dependent. Like I said, they make a controller that goes up to 3,000 amp hours, which would give you over 500 pounds of torque. You add that to a big battery pack, you can get that up there to close to 1,000. I mean, depending on the range you really want. Now, if you want just a drag car, you don't even need to worry about range. You need to worry about power. How much can you put now? And that's all through the controller. And of course the bigger motor. And then I got asked about automatics again. I guess I made a mistake of saying I'm only going to do 5 speeds. That's not really what I meant. In another video I said I would only do them unless you wanted one. Automatics cost just a little bit more. And I would almost say you would have to use an AC motor and get your regenerative braking. I think I talked about this last time. It's really not that it's an automatic. It's the gearing of an automatic. You need a high gear ratio, which is why I would prefer a 5-speed. Cruise around the neighborhood in 2nd or 3rd gear. Put it in 5th if you're getting on the highway. You really don't lose anything switching gears. You can only gain by making it go higher. And the cost. Like I said, I would recommend a AC motor for an automatic, just so you can have the regenerative braking and fluid containment. Would raise the price, because then you would have to have both motor and transmission taken to a CNC, which I guess really isn't a problem. And I've already been asked a couple times about why I wouldn't do an automatic. I never said I wouldn't. I said I prefer not. And I got asked about a heavy all-wheel drive. And again, that's not a problem. It's the cost. If you pay attention to electric cars, you know there's big ones out there. There's a 8,000-pound Escalade. I've seen a Hummer, but he said the lack of range for the cost of the battery just wasn't worth doing another one. They start out about 6,200 pounds, and he said, what did he say? 800. That's not right. It's 2002 H2 with 180 amp hour cells in it, and he only gets 35 miles, which isn't much, but that is in a heavy all-wheel drive. So he was just proving it could be done, and I wish I had a video of that. It's a pretty nice truck, now that it's not a gas hog. And somebody asked why I didn't show any components. I don't have any on hand. I'm getting ready to move. Second week of August should be parts pickup week. Second week of August. I think I'm leaving for Missouri on Tuesday. I never know what day it is. August 12th or 13th. August 13th is a Tuesday. I think that's my plan, to go to Missouri and pick up components instead of having them shipped. There's a lot of EV people down there. That's where EVTV is, and I believe I'm picking up batteries from them. Put in the order right after I get the truck and the check. So there will be components. I'll show you. I want to document the Ranger as a build, a video build sheet, really. And coming up quick, less than 4 weeks. I guess it's 4 weeks from the time this video will be up. And I got asked about natural gas. What are the advantages over natural gas? The internal combustion engine. That's the biggest advantage. Fuel. You would still need to buy fuel instead of being able to plug in at your own house. And natural gas is explosive. I took a class in college on alternative fuels, and I passed it. It was more of the old when I was there. And it's changed a little, but they're still trying to teach people to use an internal combustion engine. And the inefficiency of that motor, of any internal combustion engine, even a natural gas one, which is much higher than a gasoline or diesel motor, seems like a waste to me anyway. Not to teach people that, just to keep going towards it. And I got asked about a hybrid, why it would cost so much to do a hybrid. We talked about that already. It was a recent question though. There's no advantage over a gas motor of a hybrid to make it all electric. you'd still be starting with no drivetrain. But with better gear ratios, which I've looked into. So the automatic would be even, I guess, better, maybe cheaper, with certain gear ratios on hybrids because they're set so low. But that's what everybody's complaining about their hybrid now, is it's not quick enough, it's not fast, you can't take off, you're getting on the highway too slow. Things like that. I mean, I think that's all I have to talk about. Really just waiting for the Ranger. Then I'll have a lot to talk about. Because then we'll be picking up parts. Things, I have the wiring diagram for everything. Not with me. But I didn't want to make this video really long anyway. I'll show it to you when the truck is here. That way I can take the camera out to the truck and say, this is going here. And then put it there. So 4 days from now, and the Ranger will be here. Then, not even, I think 10 days after that, we'll start moving. House is a little crowded right now. There's stuff everywhere. And I don't have a garage, which is the main reason we're moving. I signed a contract to build a car and I needed a garage. So that's happening at the end of the month. We're moving to the new place. Maybe give you a tour of the truck in the garage. Talk about what's going on with that. I have 2 vehicles outside. One is overheating tremendously. The Subaru, which was the plan anyway, to pull that motor. That's kind of the reason I got it, because of the weight and really the style. It's not a gorgeous car, it's not a sports car, but it weighs 1,700 pounds. And it's a push-button all-wheel drive, which we have a in-house trick to do with that system. And we'll walk you through all that when we do that. So next month on the 12th is when I can pull parts off the Ranger. I'm not waiting that long because we want to take it, check it, really. The guy did all this work to it and then left. Took a long trip. But that's what he wanted. He wanted to get one last long trip out of it before he converted it. He's had it since it was new. It's a 99, so I don't blame him. I've been across country in my car, and if I pull the motor for it to do the conversion, I'd want to drive it somewhere first. But I have other gas vehicles. He has 2 Rangers and a Fox body. We're doing all 3 of them. And I hope you understood that electric horsepower thing. I really did shorten down the information on that one. But with enough kilowatt hours in your battery pack and the right controller, yeah, you can turn it into a drag car. I would definitely recommend the Warp 11 or the 13. But the Warp 9 is, you can get 500 foot-pounds of torque out of it. 72 kilowatt. That's at 72 kilowatts. That's a big pack. But drag cars possible, heavy cars, all-wheel drives. That's only going to adhere to your range and your cost. Especially on all-wheel drive, where there's just no option to make it 2. It's got to turn half shaft, quarter shaft, all that. I think it's kind of known that it's not as efficient as a 2-wheel, which is why the S10 and the Rangers are pretty good. They're lightweight, rear-wheel drive. And then somebody asked why I'm using a transmission at all. Again, that's gear ratio. You want it, and you don't necessarily need it. But the waste of energy you're going to take for 1 and 2 from a gear ratio, which you won't have, then your motor would have to turn the drive shaft at an equal living, which isn't really feasible. It is, but the wear on the brushes on the DC motors would be so much faster. And the gear ratio always helps. People say, you pull that transmission out, you're losing that weight. Well, you're losing the efficiency of a transmission. And I got asked why I was talking about electric cars in the 1900s. Because that's what they made. Asked me to say their names again. And I could only remember 2 off the top of my head. I thought I had them written down. Baker, which turned into train cars, I think. They made horse and buggies, buggies. And Tesla, of course, from 1903 to 1912. Made electric cars, but that went maybe 20 miles an hour, maybe 5 miles range, because back then they had sulfur encapsulated cells. They didn't have nickel metal hydride even. Yeah, I'm using ion prismatic cells, lithium ion cells. But they did make them. Tesla wasn't even the first to make them. Baker made them first. And Carrier was famous in the 1800s for luxury stages, coaches, things like that, for horse and buggy. And they made an electric car, but we're talking 1899, I think the first one was out. And people didn't go very far back then, unless they were on a horse. So they didn't really have to go very far, and they didn't have the power to do so. But we got the power now, and hopefully in the next couple of years these batteries get better. More amp hours, really. But I'm going to cut it off there, since I don't really know what else to talk about. If you have any more questions, let me know. I'm getting questions from multiple places. Trying to get everybody to post them straight up on my Facebook page, which is Electric Vehicle Conversions Ohio. And you can do that, or look at my email. My phone number's still on there. Or post them on the YouTube video. After the Ranger build, we're gonna start pushing some more advertising, things like that. Maybe I'll have a more professional video soon. But until then, really until Friday, I will try to shoot a video of the weekend and post it Monday, which was the original plan, but I know now it's Monday, but it's already dark, and this will probably take a while to load, so you probably won't see it till Tuesday. I want the videos out on Monday, which means Sunday I'll be shooting videos instead of Monday night, and I wanted them already posted. I can only apologize about last week. It was kind of a crazy week. The heat, running around and making sure all 5 of my cars were tagged and ready to move. So I'll see you next Monday, because I'll have video to shoot Friday, 2 p.m. Ranger will be here, and then a week after that I might not do a video 2 weeks from now, but I will definitely have one when I go to Missouri, because I'll be talking to some people who Actually, 2 people claim they've done over 100 conversions. And then one that that's all they do. So, still hot in here. Yeah, I guess I'll see you next week. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.